Should be all set.
All set?
You want to turn your microphone on?
It's on.
Okay.
All right, well, good evening, good afternoon to those that might not be in the same time zone. My name's Mike Haynes. I'm the chairman of this year's Charter Revision Commission. And this is the public hearing for such Charter Revision Commission. Agenda's been out there for a little while anyway. So first order of business, I'm calling the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you very much. Not on the agenda, but I do think that it is important in remembrance of D-Day and all of those who gave their lives on that day for our freedom. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence so we can reflect on those brave men and women. Thank you. Okay, so let's open up for public hearing, comments, anyone?
Do you want to start in the room first?
Yeah, start in the room first. Hey, Tom.
I'd like to make a comment, if that's okay. Where would you like me to speak? Right here?
Sure, right there, just
Sure.
your name and address if you would, please.
Sure, of course, Annie Hornish, 864 Thrall Avenue. While you're opening up the charter for consideration, one thing that, I'm so sorry, thank you. Thank you. Annie Hornish, 864 Thrall Avenue. While you're opening up the charter, I think a useful addition might be to make it more easy to access. Everyone's doing a great job in this town with giving Zoom meeting, links and things. This meeting, it's available. People are on the call. I can see that. Typing in that number sometimes can be difficult for people. I was just getting a lot of emails. People didn't know how to get on. But you can make it an active link, so that's something that could easily be done. And I applaud the transparency that affords. It's been happening with more and more frequency, but just something while you're opening this up.
Okay, good, thank you. Anyone else here in the room? Tom?
Tom Frenet, 489 Warnertown Road, and greetings to all of you and congratulations on your new assignment. I know 3 of you, but haven't met the other 2, so glad to meet you. I've served on a bunch of boards and commissions in town. About 15 years ago, I was first selectman for a term. I served on planning and zoning. I'm on the Board of Finance now. And I've been in town 35 years. And I had a bunch of comments. I hope you'll take them in stride. Some are a little critical and already, and some are not, but I just want to give you some thoughts of how I think this might be a positive process. And I should say, my wife is town treasurer, so I have a little bit of interest in how you go from here. There are no minutes out yet from your original meeting on May 23rd. By state law, they're supposed to be out in a week. So I know you're getting started, but that's going down the same path the last Charter Commission did, with very late minutes and some minutes never showing up at all for the last few meetings. So I hope you'll pay attention to that. And I think I heard before the meeting that you expected that Chris Lambert might be doing the minutes in the next, after tonight. So I think that would be a good thing. Make sure that those get done within the week. And second, related to that, is you only posted this yesterday. to do a public hearing and get information out to people. You knew 2 weeks ago you were gonna do this, maybe you didn't exactly know the location, but giving people only 1 day notice and the town's ability to get information is somewhat limited. And it would be better to think ahead a little bit better. They have a distribution system for people that wanna sign up for agendas and minutes from boards and commissions, but I'm told there's only about a half dozen people or a dozen people that are signed up for this one. So I know it's posted on the website, you can see it, but it's limited. The meeting you're having after this public hearing, you described as a regular meeting, but it's not a regular meeting, it's a special meeting, because a regular meeting is one where a board and commission has told the state at the beginning of the year when your meeting dates are. And a special meeting is one called outside of that time period. So in this case, since you're a new commission, all of them are gonna be special meetings in terms of how the rules work on it. A special meeting also means that you can't change the agenda once you've posted it, or once the meeting starts. During the meeting, you can't change the agenda. So for instance, one of the things on your agenda for the second meeting is something that just says simply chairmanship. And I have no clue what that means. It would be nice if that was more explained a little bit more to people, because maybe you know what that's about, but the rest of us don't. So think about the public that's trying to follow what's going on, is interested in it, wants to provide input. Anyhow, so.
Okay,
that-
understood,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so,
So, I'm sorry, did you have more?
yeah, I do, if you don't mind.
Okay, if we can make it fairly brief.
I'll do my best. It looks like you guys didn't get invited to last week's Freedom of Information Act presentation the town had. Somebody from the FOI Commission spent 2 hours talking to town boards and commission members, and I didn't see your names on any of the invitation lists. I know Selectman Harrington was there, I don't know if any of the rest of you were, but it was a really good presentation, and it would be useful to review. It's actually online on YouTube if you want to go find it. I know the Board of Selectmen asked you to report back by mid-August on changing 3 jobs from currently elected positions to employed positions that the selectmen, the first selectman would get to hire or fire. And in doing so, they said, well, we really, long-term, the first selectman said he'd like to see a town manager form of government eventually. My reaction is, you don't do it piecemeal by making a change to a few, to 3 positions when you don't have your main goal in focus. And I'd encourage you to look at the bigger picture. You don't, the selectmen are owed a response. I think that's great. But that doesn't mean you have to stop there. You have up to 18 months to do your job. You can give me an interim report in August, but you can also do other things, and I would expect that you've heard from other people that they'd like you to look at other things. This doesn't happen, a charter commission doesn't happen all that often, so I just say take the time. You've got a budget. I believe the town budget passed this year had, I think, $15,000 in it that you can use for consultants or counsel or whatever. And in fact, I would say, make yourself independent. Don't use the town attorney. His job, I know Derek well, but his job is to support the Board of Selectmen. His job is not necessarily to support you, and you can have independent input on that, and I would recommend that you do that in general. Talk to some consultants that have experience with charter commissions in other towns. I know Mike's had experience the last one we had, so he knows how well it worked or didn't work. And I just encourage you to be independent. You know, you're working for the town now. You're not working for the Board of Selectmen. You're working for the rest of us. One other thing I wanted to mention. The town also has $500,000 in contingency money available should you actually think you need to have more than that 15,000 to do your job right. And I think doing the job right is an important thing. Make sure you do that in the end, feel comfortable with it yourself. Talk to people in the other towns that have done this. One thing to think about are what are the odds in a town that's basically 50-50 male and female? How did you all end up male on this commission? I don't know the answer to that, but just something to think about.
I think it was, our parents had something to do with it.
I don't know, but whatever, just asking the question. And I'd also say, most of you or all of you are probably aware that there's been some pretty tough partisanship between Democrats and Republicans in town in the last several months and even the last year or two. I think one of the goals you should think about here is how to make the town charter work better so the partisanship doesn't get involved as much. That goes back to my thoughts about a long-term goal of having a town manager, because a town manager shouldn't just be somebody that gets elected this year or next year or whatever. And I've been here 35 years and we've had, I think, 8 different first selectmen. The general feeling that I remember hearing from town staff was, well, we'll be here longer than the first selectman will. So there's they're used to it changing a lot. I'm not sure that's a good thing for the town, and as the town has grown, it's gotten a lot more complex. There's a lot more work that the Board of Selectmen and First Selectmen have to do related to personnel and insurance and other things that are really behind the scenes that the public doesn't even ever run into, but really has to be dealt with. We really need to have a government that works smoothly. So anyhow, that's my comments for now. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Tom.
And if you come across other thoughts, we'll have time for public comment
Yep.
before the special meeting.
Thanks.
All right, anyone else in the room? All right, oops. Turn this baby back on. All right, anybody else in the room? No? All right. And those joined by Zoom, anyone, any comment?
I turned their cameras off, but Ms. Henry said she wanted to make a comment, so I can unmute her.
Okay.
I don't know if they have the ability to raise their hand or not, so I will, ask her to unmute. If you could ask her to unmute herself.
Is she on?
There's also
She's-
somebody,
She's ready now. You can tell her she can speak.
Okay, you can go ahead and speak now.
Ms. Henry.
Yep.
Can you tell them both the Henrys have they're unmuted and one of them should choose to speak? Can I have the microphone, Tom, please? Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Henry? Ms. Henry, can you hear us? You're unmuted and you're allowed to speak. Make your comment.
Okay,
Just show us a front microphone.
and who else?
Can you hear me, Ms. Henry? I'm starting your video. Can you hear us, Ms. Henry?
her border's lighting up like she's speaking,
Oh, there
but,
she is.
but but she's
We
probably.
cannot hear you. Can you try to mute and unmute yourself again, please, Ms. Henry? That's strange. Still not able to hear you. One moment. have you as showing that your microphone is working, but we're not able to hear you, Ms. Henry.
Mrs. Henry, can you hear us?
It looked like Jack was trying to speak. Is the problem on our end? Can we ask
Do
Jack
you
to
have a
try and speak?
universal mute on, Kathy? Like for the, I'm not good at this, but
I have this unmuted, and then I have her unmuted up here.
Is the volume up on the
Universally is
computer?
unmuted,
okay.
and also individually unmuted.
Huh.
Is the volume up on the computer? The lower right, there's a speaker.
I don't know if that- it's on
Yeah,
58,
okay.
and then I'll start with that. Maybe, do you want me to see if I can go to Mr. Henry?
Yeah.
Ms. Henry, we're going to go to Mr. Henry to see if he's able to speak, to see if it's on our end. So, Mr. Henry,
Excuse me, Kathy, someone texted me, we can hear her.
they can hear.
Oh, wait, who, were they talking about? It could be.
Mr. Henry, can you hear us?
I don't have the bars.
Maybe just have any of the other people say something to see if it's.
Mr. Henry, we cannot hear you. I can see that you're speaking.
Let me see if I can text them.
That's exactly what you-
I can call her on the phone and see if she just wants to talk, put the phone to the speaker.
Can you say we're just gonna give me 2 minutes, please? Thank you.
I think they can hear each other.
I know, and I'm reaching out to
Yeah,
someone
that
right
seems
now.
odd, doesn't
For
it?
It is.
technology, if you could just give me 2 minutes, that would be great.
While we're waiting, can I ask a couple questions about Tom's comments? Is that appropriate, Derek?
No, because we're in the public hearing, so you're only supposed to gather information right now.
Yep.
I know, okay. All right, I'll call them.
She's working on it.
Excuse me, they can hear you and they can hear the Henry speaking.
But we can't
But,
hear that.
correct, correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm asking someone for assistance right now.
Do you have any bars? No. Yeah, I'm having trouble.
No, I can,
I'm gonna ask
Take a
them
look,
if
but-
it's gonna work.
Looking for bugs?
What's it calling up on the speaker? Not on the phone, it's on the speaker, it's on the microphone.
If I can get my other one bar.
You don't need a wire for your phone.
I got one.
For your printer.
Yeah. Do you have more bars?
Yeah.
They don't know that they can necessarily help if they're gonna come in here.
Remember the cord?
I don't know.
You had to plug in 7 cords.
There's a little screen next to it, you can see the volume can be
I
changed.
just have plugged into the wall.
Because we can't hear
I've got
them.
an old printer that I still have connected to my
This is,
computer.
there's a little screen next to your
But
computer.
I
so
look
the
at the
volume-
cord, I just have to spend time to download whatever.
Oh, you're doing it, okay.
Instead of a shirt, it's a cord.
Oh, there we go.
No, that's the
Oh.
phone.
Want to put this by the mic?
Give me a moment, please.
Let her know she,
Hang on.
This is coming back.
Until the last time, pretty well.
if they get that working, you might start getting feedback.
Hang on, we're still,
People can just be patient.
there are 5 people making all 5 changes at once. So we'll see what happens.
Turn it on or?
Worst case scenario, we can just put our comments in the chat. I don't know if that's legal or not, but.
Just read it.
You can set the speaker's time. Yeah, well, typically, and, I mean, this is just kind of an open form, but yeah, typically. Starting to sound like one of those,
The little, yeah.
when you,
Camera system comes up with the camera.
not an ultrasound, but
Phones in the camera.
MRI. It sounds just like an MRI machine. That's right.
Luckily, I've not yet had the pleasure of one of those, so.
Oh.
You can. Sure.
Be proactive.
And just call
Okay,
your doctor.
Robin, why don't you say something and see if people can hear you in the room here?
No, actually, no, it doesn't, so that camera's off.
Why don't you say something and let's see if the people in the room can hear you.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Is that good enough?
Is that from your phone?
Yeah.
Did anybody hear anything?
Yeah.
Just through a phone.
I think they can hear you,
Can
so,
people, can everybody just please give me some
oh,
quiet,
still
please?
waiting?
Thank
Sorry.
you. I'm sorry, Colin, you said that when I have this up and running on the right-hand side, thank you. This
Technology
up and
is so much
running.
fun.
I know, so, that's what this one.
This is the worst thing that happens to me
It's
today.
moving
Doing
itself
all right.
back up on the little screen.
This will get better.
Yeah.
Too many people.
First one's always tough.
Yeah.
It says it's now saying successfully paired. Now it's, I think it's going to come, welcome to quality control. Yeah, I had that, but I was thinking, yeah, I really appreciate, I don't want to.
Sorry, no idea.
One circle, so it divides me to the one for the most right. Yeah, because now the camera's off. Now the camera's on, okay, now the camera's on. Okay, now volume. There's a volume on the bottom there. So if I click volume, this is all the way up to 100. If I mute and then unmute. I just did that. So if I exit out of there, and go to volume here, that's up to 100. I just did that, muted and unmuted. Yeah, no, I can't hear any of them. I can try them again. Okay. I think, okay. Now the camera is off. And then the other camera's back on. I was looking for this to stay here. Alright, so to stay here. Alright, everything's fine. You may have to, some people will call me. I've done what I can, I apologize, and Colin said he'll probably try to call back. I'm gonna maybe just see if one of them can try speaking. I have it set, all the settings are exactly how they're supposed to be.
Okay.
So, Mr. Henry, if you're able just to try to speak, just say 2 or 3 words, we can see if we can hear you. No, unfortunately. Thank you for trying, we're not able to hear you. I don't know how you want to proceed.
So if I could,
Tom still has Robin
Somebody
on
on phone.
speakerphone, so if you want to give him the
Yeah.
microphone.
The
you can
problem
just
is that
put
we
it-
don't have anybody else, any other member of the public that's on there that wants to speak.
yeah, so if I could make a suggestion, if, for the purposes of the public hearing, I would suggest that we schedule a second public hearing, just to be sure that everyone has the opportunity to
Yeah.
speak when we've resolved these issues. But for the time being, since we're here, if Tom's willing to take people's calls and put it on speakerphone, that's certainly fine. But there is an accessibility issue that we just wanna be sure that we address, so I do think we need to schedule a second public hearing.
Are we recording this meeting?
Yes, it's being recorded.
But we don't know if the sound is making it to the
My
recording.
understanding is they're able to hear us
Okay.
and hear each other, but we're not able to hear them.
Okay. All right, Tom, you wanna,
I do have the
Hook us
microphone
up?
here, if you would like to do that. Thank you.
So I've got Robin on here?
Just to make sure.
Okay, here.
All right, take 2. This is Robin Henry, 12 Pheasant Lane, Suffield. And first of all, I want to thank you for having this public hearing, whether or not we're having problems, it's good that you're having it. It would also be good if, as Tom mentioned, that next time we could, have a little bit more of a heads up, to be able to plan. I think more people would be there if we had had a little bit more warning. So it's good we're going to do this again. I also agree with Tom that this is a very, very, very important topic that we're dealing with, and that I think it makes sense to take the time rather than doing it piecemeal and, just a few positions at a time, that we really look at the town as a whole and what's going to be best for the town moving forward, because it's certainly a bigger town with more issues than it was when we moved in 37 years ago. And I would love to see us really take advantage of the time that we're given for this commission to do a thorough look at the town. I think that looking at 3 positions and then later having to look at other positions just doesn't make sense. So I would encourage you to, take your time, look at all the positions, look at the idea of a town manager, and look at all the town's positions and try to figure out what is going to make the most sense as we as a town move forward into the future.
great, thank you.
All right, I'm going to hang up now so Jack can call you, Tom.
Hello, Jack. Hello, Jack. Go ahead.
No,
Not hearing you, Jack.
He might need to get closer to his phone.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Good. Okay, this is Jack Henry, 12 Pheasant Lane, Suffield. I've been a resident of Suffield for over 36 years, served on the Board of Finance for 10, Retirement Commission twice, the Economic Development Commission, and various positions associated with my term as Suffield's treasurer. I'd like to echo many of Tom's comments, and I applaud Derek for suggesting that we have a second chance at a public comment session on this. I think it's a very important thing for us to tackle, and I think it's important that more people than just a few of us have the opportunity to give you input. Also, I'd like to say is, I think that if you're looking at making the treasurer and, town clerk, and I'm not sure what the third one was. Yeah, that, I think it's important that, it be looked at holistically, and that, if you're having a town manager at some point, I think the town manager, if you are gonna do this, I think that they're gonna be reporting to the town manager, and the town manager should be the one doing the appointing of those positions, if that's the way you're going to go. From my own perspective, I think, having the input of the entire town on those positions is important. I think it has worked well in the past. And I'd be a little bit concerned about putting it in the hands of, just the first selectman or the board of selectmen. I would be also concerned that there might be some partisanship involved there, and, that's the last thing that we need right now. And I'm open to any questions that you might have for me if you'd like.
Thank you, Jack. Anyone else?
I have one more thing to try, volume.
Okay, great.
I'm just not really even certain how much TV it goes to.
If you like this, I see there's two other numbers up there. If they want to call my number, we can put them on.
Let's,
If
yeah,
that doesn't
no,
work.
that's a good idea, thank you. I just want to see if,
I would just need, if we could ask one of, like, Ms. Henry, since she's not on the phone, if she could say a few words. I don't think she can hear me, if someone else could ask her.
Ms. Henry, can you hear us? Just wanted to try to check and see if you could come through here, but you're not still. Okay, how about, can we go ahead and move on? Tom, could you give me your,
860-597-4539.
okay, 4539? Thanks. All right, so those, the call-in number with 413-636-9959. We're not, if you have an interest in making public comment, if you could call Tom Frenet's phone number, 860-597-4539.
I'd say the same for that other number.
Probably not gonna happen if he's not disconnecting.
Well, sounds like they can hear us,
Yeah.
right, so. All right.
Yeah, we're getting thumbs up from,
All right, moving on to the other call-in number, 860-386-6621. If you'd like to make comment, if you could give Tom's cell phone a call, 860-597-4539. Okay,
One of them says they're good, they don't need to say anything. And
who
the
needs a
other one
recording
says,
secretary?
the other one says, I don't think calling your phone is gonna help.
Okay, great.
So really, they heard what they needed to hear.
If there's anyone else
On that
on
system.
Zoom that would like to make any public comment, if you want to give Tom's cell phone a call, 597-4539.
Yeah, we're
Okay, all right, well, good. Well, thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. All right, I think that will conclude our public comment for tonight. So we'll go ahead or the public hearing, so we'll go ahead and adjourn the public hearing.
Do we need a motion?
Do we need a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the public hearing.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so public hearing's closed. Kathy, you still good?
Yep.
All right. All right, so why don't we go, excuse me, why don't we go ahead and move into our regular / special meeting. So I'll call the meeting to order. Public comment? Anything? No. All right, so let's move on to correspondence. So apparently Colin received, I don't know if this was an email, I would assume.
No, it was in the mail.
It was a mail. Okay,
Can
mail.
I add, when was this received? Do we know when this came?
I received it from Colin yesterday,
Okay.
and I don't know if he got it that day or the day
Okay.
before.
All right, good. So I'll go ahead and read it. It says, Honorable Charter Commission members, I am writing to you because I have some suggestions based on my experiences living through a similar change and becoming an active volunteer on town boards and commissions in the years that followed in Longmeadow. I want to share what I believe are the two most important lessons of that experience. Have some sort of residency preference or requirement for these positions, and ensure that the hiring of these people is done by the select board and not one person. I believe that some sort of preference for residents of the town to work in these positions is vital to their ability to perform at the highest level. After the transition from electing these positions to them being appointed in Longmeadow, many of the former elected officials stayed on for a period of time. I was fortunate enough to work with quite a few of them and felt that they took a good deal of pride in their work because they were serving the community they called home. As the years went on, the former elected officials either retired or moved on to other jobs. They were frequently replaced by non-residents who, at times, could not even be bothered to answer an email, and I believe the town suffered as a result. I encourage you to not make the same mistakes here in Suffield and ensure that whenever possible, a Suffield resident fills these positions. In addition to the residency preference or requirement, I believe that the select board, and not an individual, like the first selectman or human resource director, should appoint these positions. As Longmeadow was undergoing a similar transition, the Charter Commission was also working to institute a strong town manager. At one point, there was consideration of hiring the town manager there was consideration of the town manager directly hiring the town clerk, tax collector, and treasurer. However, the Charter Commission wisely decided against that proposal, in large part because they felt that these positions were too important to be appointed by one person. Instead, they decided to have the select board appoint these positions so that there would be adequate input by all parties and the process would be transparent for everyone. While I can't be absolutely certain, it is my feeling that the charter revisions would have failed if this change had not been made because the citizens who have felt that too much power had been vested in one person. In closing, I want to thank you for taking time to volunteer for this important effort and for considering my suggestions. I wish you the best of luck with your work. Sincerely, Tim Casey, 10 Fair Hill Lane, Suffield, Connecticut, 06078. Okay. So that should take care of public comment correspondence, right? All right, moving on to item number 3. Simply put, chairmanship. And the reason for this particular item was because it's been 2 weeks since we last met. And frankly, over the last 2 weeks, there's been a number of personal issues that have come up on my side that I don't really feel that I can continue on as the chair of this commission. I do plan and hope to be able to attend most, if not all, of the meetings and actively participate, but I'm not any longer feeling that I have the time to dedicate to this particular position. So with that, I'd like to tender my resignation as chair of this commission. It's been 2 weeks, it's been a great ride. But in all seriousness, I don't think it would be fair to the rest of the commission members if I continue. So I think I'd like to suggest that we nominate and appoint a new chair. And from the last meeting, I think Eric has the most experience with previous charter revision commission, so I'd like to nominate Eric as the new chair.
So let me jump in here for a second. I think if we're gonna do nominations, we probably should have the agenda specifically say, discussion and approval of new chairman.
Okay.
So for the purpose of this meeting, your resignation has been tendered.
Okay.
That can't be undone. That's certainly sufficient. Eric, you can, as the vice chairman, you would create the agenda for the next meeting, and then.
Rick is.
I'm sorry, Rick. I'm sorry. I got confused here. So you could set the next agenda, and then start off the next meeting with the appointment of officers. I think that's the appropriate way to handle that.
Good, thank you.
And just along those lines, so Tom indicated in his comments that there's no such thing as a regular meeting for this commission, is that correct?
Yeah, so while we had a little downtime, I was trying to get the answer to that. My recollection is that when you have a new commission created, that they set their agenda and set their regular meetings. I thought there was an opinion of the Freedom of Information Commission that said that. I couldn't find that opinion, so I may be wrong. So the answer is, for tonight, we will treat this as a special meeting, and I will get back to you with that. But my strong feeling is that once you set your meeting agenda, if you're not there to do it by the end of the year, which is when you're supposed to, that first organizational meeting becomes essentially satisfies that requirement of creating the meeting schedule. Logically, that makes sense. I think I recall the Freedom of Information Commission. I've had a long day and a longer week, and I couldn't find it in the short time we were here. So I will get back to you on that point. But for tonight, and that's particularly with respect to the officers, we'll treat this as a special meeting.
Eric, what's the difference?
Sure. So a regular meeting is, each commission, for any commission in the town, sets their agenda at the beginning of the year, or their meeting schedule at the beginning of the year. It's published with the town clerk, so everyone knows when the commission is going to meet. The commission can meet at any time, it has business that it needs to do, and it can notice a special meeting. It has to do that the same way it would post a regular agenda. The only sort of true difference is that special meeting agenda cannot change. So you can't call a special meeting, go into the special meeting and say, hey, look, we're gonna have a discussion and approval of new officers, amend the agenda and put that on. You can do that at a regular meeting by a 2/3 vote.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? We'll just continue on then, and
So you've resigned, so we're gonna get to the rest of it. You're gonna run the agenda from now on.
So we do have a vice chair,
Yes, they did nominate a vice chair last time.
so we can continue.
Correct.
So we have, again, my name is Rick Dubor now, I'm the vice chair. Guess vice chair, and today I'm the chair, I guess. I'm both, I have two positions today. So we need to discuss, Chairman, discuss process for remaining meetings. So one of the things we discussed 2 weeks ago was in fact getting the three current positions in front of us so that we can ask them questions and they can ask us questions. I think it might make sense to do that sooner than later. So I'm gonna ask Colin and or Kathy, what process or how do we get that going? Schedule those people to come to the next meeting. Can we get that in the works, and how would we start, how would we do that?
We're talking about the three positions.
Yes, as we discussed, we like to get them to come to the meeting so we can in fact talk to them and ask them questions and let them ask us questions.
You guys created a schedule?
We have a schedule, yes.
So we have a schedule of meetings, we have set times or dates that we want to talk to people.
Yeah, we don't, but I think we should get that on the schedule sooner than later. Our next meeting is the 20th, what's today, the 20th, I
Right.
believe.
so
Then
I
I'm
guess,
happy to set that up for you guys.
yeah, I guess the question is it, do you think it's better if the commission speaks with them directly or go through you or Kathy?
I mean, I feel like it should be, whether it's the chair's comfortable sending them an email to set up the
Okay.
time, or if they would like me to, I'm happy to do it, but I think either is fine.
Okay.
The chair directly can do it.
And that wouldn't be done in a public meeting.
No, I would say you would just reach out by email or
okay.
call their office, see when they're available.
So,
But all our meetings are public, right?
Yeah,
Anyone can come to the meeting. But
right, so the chair or the acting chair can certainly reach out to anyone, if you'd like my office to do it, or the first selectman's
Oh, I
office
have
to
no
do it.
problem, I'll do it.
Yeah, so I would just invite them to the meeting. Their conversation with you at the meeting will be in public.
Fine,
Yes.
okay. So I guess our next meeting is scheduled for the 20th. Should we in fact try to meet next week to get a chair elected? Would that make sense?
we can.
We can,
I mean,
we would
do you think it's
have to see what
necessary?
availability
I don't think it's
there are.
necessary, it's
so?
really just, I mean, the agenda's gotta be set for the next meeting, I mean, and whoever we're gonna invite to come to the next meeting is a subject matter expert, we need to invite them,
Okay.
but, I mean, I don't know that we need to have a special meeting to have a chairman for
Okay,
that. so.
okay, so we can do it at the same meeting.
The election of a chairman would be very brief.
Yeah, that'll take a second.
So I guess one thing for us to consider is, we have three positions at a minimum. Obviously, there's been some folks talking about the town manager position as well, but, the focus, at least as a base, is those three positions. So the question I would ask is, do we want to have one of those individuals come to each of three separate meetings, where we can just kind of devote the entire meeting to that one specific position, or conversely, have all three at the same time and kind of go through it in its entirety and then spend future meetings discussing it. This two thoughts that I have.
How much time do you think we would need with each person?
I would guess, I don't know, half an
Half
hour,
hour?
I would think.
That'd be plenty of time.
Yeah, I would think.
Well, I I guess the question is, are we gonna interview other people in addition to the incumbents or the current office holders? For example, there's a number of former treasurers that, we could invite to talk about the role. Would we have a treasurer-specific meeting, and then a town clerk meeting, and a tax collector meeting? We would invite those people too. I mean,
That's a good idea.
I think we can multitask, but
Yeah.
I think that might make some sense to
Okay.
devote each meeting to each particular office.
That's a good idea.
As we're thinking about inviting people, do we want to have just a set, at least a base set of questions that we want to ask to get specific key points to draw?
Yeah, I
from
was
those
thinking of that too. Should we all speak? Should one person speak? Should we have 7, 10 general questions? We just want to be loose about it?
Yeah, I mean, your opinion from prior charter revisions as well, but typically when we've done this in the past, it's more to having that individual give us their feedback. And then, there might be some questions that, we have an idea of asking prior to, but that discussion typically generates a number of other questions.
So it might make sense just to let them talk about the position. That'll open up questions. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there'd be any harm in providing some potential questions so they have time to prepare. But I mean, the questions, you don't necessarily need standard questions for each office, I wouldn't.
When I interview people, I write all the questions down.
Do you?
Yes, I do. I'm anal, I'm old-fashioned. It was mentioned a few minutes ago that this commission should consider expanding to other than the 3 positions we're being charged with looking at. My question is, do we have the authority, and can we do that? Are we?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And we touched on this a little bit at the last meeting, but the Board of Selectmen creates the Charter Revision Commission. They give you a charge to follow, but once you are appointed, the scope of your work is whatever you deem it necessary to be. You have an obligation to get back to the Board of Selectmen by the date that they have provided, but you can get back to them and say, sorry folks, we're not ready. And provided that you report, you've met that requirement. I think Tom said it in his comments, but Charter Revision Commission can't be around, I think, longer than 16 months, is that off the top of my head? Yeah, I think it's 16 months. So, you're limited by statute to how long you can exist. But really, the scope of what you do is up to you. So, I mean, the charge is what the Board of Selectmen would like to see, and where you go with it is entirely up to this board.
Okay, so I think what we should do, I personally would like to get the current positions and perhaps some former positions in, as soon as we can, perhaps in the next 2 weeks. Do we think that's enough time?
And did we agree we wanted to do that separately each meeting, or can we bang it all out
We
in
haven't
one
decided
day?
that.
And I guess my question is.
Yeah, we've been here,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I guess my question is, if we do it in one evening, what is the comfort level of those current individuals in those 3 positions to be present with the other 2 positions versus do a half hour with one entity, a half hour with the next entity, and do those separately? I guess my question is, want to make sure they're comfortable in that scenario.
Yeah, I don't see that being an issue. I mean, I think it's more, there's things other than the interview with the incumbent. There's, there's job descriptions, there's statutory requirements, there's the history of the position, the charter requirements, things like that are all part of each individual office. So I guess the question is, do we want to do all the interviews and then look at all that stuff, or do we want to focus on, the tax collector, in one meeting and do all that all at once, or, and then, you know, move on to the treasurer and then the town clerk, or whatever the right order is, but,
I think we should look at one position at a time, so that we're not confused. And we might forget what the tax collector said instead of the treasurer.
So then perhaps we can reach out to the three of them and find out, you know, we've got the schedule,
Yeah.
right? The 20th and whatever the other,
20.
June 27th and July 11th, and we can try to see who's,
So do you want me to do that? Reach out?
or Kathy.
Kathy?
Said she'd be,
Will you do that, Kathy? You want me to do it? Would you do it, please, since I'm new to the whole arrangement?
So who do you want me to contact first?
Well, I think, shouldn't we
all three.
maybe open it up? These are our meetings, and let them tell us their availability, perhaps?
Okay.
Would that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any specific order that we need,
No,
right? So-
no.
What I'll do is I'll email them with a CC to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then perhaps we have them each speak at the beginning of
Yeah.
the meeting, right, for the first half hour or whatever time they need.
And then that'll open up questions for us, I would think.
So they would be meeting with us on the scheduled meetings we already have?
Correct,
Okay,
correct. And our next one is the 20th, I believe, or 2 weeks from today.
correct.
Okay, and then the next one, we have a week after, right after, because I think we're missing a day in July.
Because of July 4th
Right,
holiday.
right.
Right, yeah, the 27th is the next one.
Okay.
So, and Tom, you can help me with this. Since I can't talk to Jack, or at least I can't hear him. I'm trying to recall the treasurers before Jack.
Christine Davidson
and Ed Basil
and
before
Ed
that.
Basil,
Yeah.
Right.
who are both around.
So all three of them are still around.
Yeah, so it might be helpful to add those to the, I don't think we've had a new town clerk in quite a while, or tax collector, or, but those individuals, it might be helpful to,
During the meeting.
to give us their
With
thoughts.
Tom?
too.
Since you asked me a question, I'll answer a different one, which is that the people dialing in or doing Zoom would like to know who's speaking, because they can't
Oh,
necessarily see
sorry.
you.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
All right, so that was my Keynes.
And Rick Dubois was speaking, because Rick Dubois is the vice chair, currently the chair, I guess, if I said that correct. Is there anything else we need to discuss today?
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
anyone else that anyone thinks of that, that we might want to have come and speak with us?
Just want to make sure I have the correct list, so I have the three incumbents, as well as Christine Davidson, Ed Basil, and Jack Henry.
Should we, this is Rick Dubois speaking again, should we have Colin, should we in fact have Colin with us to present his position or the position of the select board? Is that necessary?
Well, I think he did that at the initial meeting, but I mean,
No,
he's
doesn't
always
need-
welcome.
Doesn't need to be expounded upon.
I mean, I think we can follow up if we
Okay.
have questions.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, this is Eric Remington.
Then if there's no one else, then
Anything else we need to discuss? Any other items, any topics?
Just,
Yeah.
sorry, this is Eric Remington again. I mean, just as far as inviting others, I mean, I'm sure after we leave this meeting, I'll think of other people, so, I mean, I think we can, I mean, I'll go through you, but I think we can invite other people that we haven't talked about
Okay.
tonight.
Okay. Anything else?
We just have to keep, this is Ray Dalrymple, we just have to keep in mind that we will have another public
Oh.
hearing
And
on
when,
the 20th, right there.
Yeah, so you can do another public hearing whenever you want. I
should we decide now?
would suggest that you decide now, given that it's, and thank you for that.
Okay.
And I think it does make sense to do it again prior to the start of your next meeting. There's also a couple of
Okay.
weeks worth of notice that
Okay.
we could get out there. And we can be in touch tomorrow about getting the public hearing agenda out. Even if the meeting agenda is gonna take some time when we deal with scheduling, we can get that public hearing agenda taken care of right away, so.
2 weeks' notice is enough time if we decide the 20th is our next public hearing?
Yes, so if the board would like to do that, you can discuss that, and then it's really, you don't need to vote on
We don't
that.
have
The
to
chair ultimately calls,
Okay.
or the vice chair in this case can call the public hearing, but if that's convenient to all of you. we
And
can,
the 20th is good, so the next public hearing, again, this is Rick Dubor, the next public hearing will be June 20th. Okay, at 7 PM, correct, at the police station, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Ray Darrell, just one question. For the next meeting, who is responsible for putting out to the, notifying the town that,
So,
Kathy, do and
yeah, so the vice chair is going to stand in as the chair for now, so he'll set the agenda. He'll get that into the town clerk's office, and I can help you with that. Once it's submitted to the town clerk's office, the town clerk will blast it out as part of the
okay,
process
we just want
that
to
she
make sure it's
undertakes.
timely.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So Derek, should you and I talk a few minutes?
Sure.
Just to make sure,
Yep.
okay.
And I've been taking minutes to draft minutes for this meeting, and I'll have them as soon as I can.
Thank you. Okay, next meeting, no other business, then the meeting is adjourned at 8:02.
You need a motion.
I'm sorry,
I.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. It's hard to, the technology pieces.
So tentatively, we'll have the 20th for the public hearing, and then the 27th.
You got that.